What's going on, everybody? Hope you're all having a fantastic day today. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I actually had a completely different video topic planned for today, but I have to push that back to tomorrow because DICE came out and gave us some pretty good information about bugs they are currently working on, and also future things that are, being planned, basically future bugs that have been brought to their attention that they are planning on going ahead and fixing. But before we actually dive into those topics, let me actually bring something to light to you guys because I thought this was pretty dang awesome. I saw this over on Twitter by Battlefield Bulletin saying, DICE is looking into implementing an option to let players change the reticle sight color in Battlefield 6. Gotta be honest, man, when it comes down to a lot of the cosmetics within this game, they are very solid. And to hear that they're giving us a little bit more freedom as well, things that people have been asking for quite some time, it puts an even bigger smile on my face. I'm just hoping that EA doesn't go ahead and screw this over. I gotta be honest with you guys. There's not a day that goes by where I don't think of the possibilities of EA adding in clown outfits. The developers are giving us some pretty good words on them not wanting to branch too far out. And also between all the Twitch drops and, content that we get from doing challenges within the Battlefield 6 beta, it seems like their idea of flashy cosmetics is definitely more grounded. But you never know. You never know. You hear publishers say it all the time. You hear them always say, oh, this is going to be a grounded experience. We're not going to be branching out too far. And then you have the most absurd cosmetics a month after launch. So only time will tell. But so far, it's looking pretty dang good. But moving over to the main post of today's topic, ladies and gentlemen, this was also by Battlefield Bulletin, saying Battlefield 6 Open Beta Weekend 2, report bug fixes and known issues. Siege of Cairo and Iberian Offensive rooftop exploits have been fixed internally for launch, which is absolutely phenomenal news. Guys, on Cairo is just a disaster. And trust me, I understand where people are coming from. They want some more verticality on some of the maps. I completely agree. I think that would be phenomenal. But unintended verticality is way too much. And on Cairo, that's exactly what it is. Yeah, there's some rooftops you can get on top of, officially, and it works. But I think if you want that type of verticality, it has to be developed from the ground up to actually fit into the map and not just simply be an exploit. So thank the heavens they're going to go ahead and work on that one because you just have nothing but a bunch of people stacking up there going like 50-2, just bodying people for days because it's a really hard spot to take people out of because, again, you're not supposed to be up there. Second, DICE plans to increase the effective range of the defibrillator. It will also receive some improvements, either visually or audibly, when reviving teammates. This one, I don't know how I feel about this. I do think that the defibs should be balanced in a certain way to where people can't cross map you and revive you, at the most ridiculous ranges. But at the same time, I do think it's a little over the top how it is right now because even when I'm standing on top of my teammate, sometimes I just can't simply pick them up. I don't know if that's due to, again, them having to increase the effective range or what it is. But it seems like a lot of the techniques for medics out there is to only zap them if they're standing on top of your body. They're sprinting around and they don't even bother trying to pull the trigger until they are literally feet on your chest. Nothing wrong with that, but again, I think it should be extended a tad bit just to make for some, not easier, revives, but more efficient revives. Because right now, I think it feels bugged, although I don't think it is bugged. Like I said, I think it's just the range. It feels bugged with how close you have to be to a teammate in order to pick them up. The third topic here is the defibrillator might not work while staying in rubbles or in certain situations because of the geometry. This is a huge one. And this has nothing to do with the previous discussion I was just talking about where you have to stand on top of your teammate in order to pick them up. If you have any teammate who is on a staircase, again, in rubble, you are just not going to be able to grab them. You'll have someone try to zap them 10, 15, 20 plus times with absolutely zero reaction. So this right here is going to be an absolute fantastic change. Next up, some collision issues are preventing players from healing other teammates with the medic bag when spawning in the map. Never really noticed that one, but I'm glad it's going to go ahead and get resolved. Players have been reporting some rare cases of random damage when spawning in the map. They're looking into it. Thank the heavens the developers are looking into this one because this is just mind-boggling. There's been so many moments where I'm just running, minding my own business, and I swear it's not when you're only spawning into the map. I promise you it had to be some occurrences where it's just, I'm already a minute or two into my life, and then out of nowhere, I just take a random damage. It happens so frequently, and it sketches you out, especially if you're a new player into the game, and you don't know that this is a current bug in the beta build. you're going to be getting, you're going to feel like you're getting shot at, and you're going to be hunkering down in a position when nobody's around you whatsoever. Sometimes I think it's a sniper from across the map, but then I'm like, in a closed-in building with no windows, I'm just sitting in the back. I'm like, okay, it can't be a sniper. It has to be something else. So I'm glad that they acknowledged this, and it's more of a, wide-known issue than what I, initially thought it was. On to the next point here. There is a bug with the camera in the deployment screen. The selection cross moves to the edge. Never really noticed it. Next, DICE has fixed internally some rare cases where the soldier camera toggled from first to third person view while playing a match. This one I have seen, and it just looks diabolical. It's absolutely hilarious. It's one of those bugs that, yeah, it's pretty annoying if it happens a lot. But when it happens in the moment, it's just comedy gold. You can't help but, chuckle a little bit when it goes ahead and occurs. Next up here, this week's client update did fix some crashes per all platforms, but they're still looking into them. Some players are reporting sudden, unexplained mid-match crashes during the open beta. So this is a very solid point. I'm glad that they're looking deeper into optimization, but I'll say, not just, crashing out of the game, even though I, have had a lot of friends who are running into this problem. So I'm glad it's getting acknowledged. But the overall performance of the game seriously has to be looked at. Again, I've stated this in the past. This is probably the best running beta we have seen in a long time. No guarantees moving into launch. It might launch and it'll be even more busted. But for the time being, compared to other previous, Battlefield games and their betas, this is extraordinarily solid. And it impresses me. It really does. I can't lie about it. It impresses me. But there's still a lot of work to be done. Performance needs to be improved. Server stability needs to be worked on. Netcode needs to be worked on. I mean, I can't even tell you how many people I'm, seeing report that the game plays like absolute dog water in the second week. And rightfully so, because it is. And again, this is constructive criticism. A lot of these people enjoy the game. They're having fun. But at the end of the day, it's rough to play. You can't deny the facts. The game is running very poorly during the second week compared to the first week. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's because EA is getting cheap on the servers, because obviously we're coming in on the last week compared to the first week where, the majority of the hype was going to be occurring. So they probably wanted to, cough about a crap ton of cash to make sure everybody can get in semi-decently. Second weekend, they're probably, laying off a bit more. That might be a reason for it. But overall, I think it just simply is optimization. As long as they just keep working on it, again, the foundation of this game with better optimization and bigger maps with different flows will add so much fun variety to the overall experience, and I think it'll be pretty solid. And finally, the last point here, custom search wait times have been reduced from 4 to 5 minutes to 40 seconds to 2 minutes. This was a pretty common problem people were having. People were, thinking that skill-based matchmaking is ramped up. The developers already confirmed it's not ramped up. It's just a bug when it comes to the matchmaking system, hence why, you're waiting for a decent amount of time sometimes. It's funny because I don't run into this bug. Me, personally, in my squad, it takes literally no longer than a minute every single time. Typically around 30 seconds, probably even 20 seconds. So it's definitely a bug, 110%. But I will say one thing, for the custom search, they definitely have to give you a little bit of a filter. You know what I'm saying? Because I feel like the custom search, it doesn't give you exactly what you want all of the time. Because again, the game prioritizes you getting into the match fast. So no matter what, if the map isn't there, if it's not available to you right away, it's going to put you somewhere else. I think there should be a little bit more of a detailed option for the custom search that allows you to say, well, I want this map and this map, and I will gladly wait as long as possible to get those maps. Give more options to the community. Of course, I know that, there's going to be a browser and portal. We have still yet to see that, so we have no clue what's in store. But when it just comes simply to the custom search for the base matchmaking system we have, I think that would be a good change, because some people don't want to play some certain maps. You know what I'm saying? So when they click off maps, they want to play those maps. Nothing more, nothing less. So if they had an option that allowed them to wait longer, let's say they don't mind waiting 5 minutes to get into a game, allow them to check that off to give them a better chance to getting into the map. And for players who don't really care, they prefer to play a certain, select game modes and maps, but at the same time, they want to get into a game as fast as possible, give them an option as well. They can say, okay, I only want to wait 1 to 2 minutes. That's it. And just keep it at that. The moral of the story is that more variety is better for the overall community. But ladies and gentlemen, that's pretty much all I have for you guys in terms of the bugs that are being fixed and future bugs that have just been noticed. Hopefully, it answered a lot of you guys' problems. I know it doesn't really dive deep into, other aspects when it comes to classes. Well, they already talked about future map. I see people talking about different discussions, but for me personally, playing a decent portion of this beta, those were some major problems that kept reoccurring again and again and again, and I'm glad that DICE went ahead and touched upon a bunch of them. But of course, that's not it. There's probably going to be a lot more. So as always, go down in the comments section, leave your opinions, let me know what bugs you guys are still running into, things that have to be fixed, resolved, so on and so forth. Spread the word, and hopefully we can continuously polish off this game moving forward to launch. But sadly, we only have one more day, but still, throughout this day, maybe we can get our final bit of feedback out there. But ladies and gentlemen, as always, if you enjoyed today's video, leave a like. If you hate it, leave a dislike. Don't forget subscribing at that bell. I post your daily at 8 Eastern time. And of course, we double upload at 5 p.m. Eastern time as well. Everything between Battlefield, Call of Duty, Splitgate 2, Arc Raiders. You best believe you hear it on this channel. And last but not least, I do stream Monday through Saturday over on Twitch. And I will actually be streaming today on Sunday. So of course, if you guys are interested, you want to chat it up or hop into the open lobbies, you want a link to my Twitch channel down in the description of this video. But as always, thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you all next one. Peace out.